Hello, everyone. Hello. I am excited about this video today from some amazing conversations I've been having most recently. If this is your first time clicking on a video or first time hearing from me, my name is Colby Boone. I am managing director and founder of Boone Capital. We are a private equity firm, Reg D 506C, in the real asset space. So, all things land, ranches, timber, and all the amazing things that come with the beautiful outdoors. So, today, what I want to talk to you guys about is something I am personally very invested in as both a landowner, homeowner in Texas, as well as outdoorsman, a sports and lifetime conservationist as well. And something that's come up pretty frequently in recent conversations that I've had across more than 8 conservation, land, agriculture, angle groups, and even most specifically Texas Parks and Wildlife that I spoke with just last week. So I want to start kind of as always giving you guys some facts. So in 2023, Texas voters approved the $1 billion Centennial Parks Conservation Fund. So 1 billion Centennial Parks Conservation Fund. And the purpose of that fund was created to help Texas buy land and develop new state parks. Since then, we've seen TPWD move on to large scale properties. They've been blown it out of the water. So they recently purchased that Silver Lake Ranch, which was nearly 54,000 acres, which is expected to actually become the second largest, folks been talking about second largest state park in Texas. So when I say 1,000 acres matters, for this video today, I'm not guessing. I'm actually having conversations. I'm blessed to be a part of several different conservation groups and organizations, and have kind of, in all fairness, leveraged that, which wasn't required, but leveraged that to definitely have some one-on-one conversations with some folks that I've been blessed to speak with, and in regards to, hey, what are y'all buying? What are y'all looking at, and why? And what I'm continuously seeing from a institutional level is that scale indeed matters. Scale matters. So I want to give you guys a few more things before I dive into the video. So we talked about Silver Lake Ranch, so 54,000 acres that was across Edwards and Kinney County. And TPWD actually says it will become, again, the second largest state park of that acquisition. And there was a mix of different things in there as regards to the acquisition. I said it on another video. I think that it was partially, if I'm not mistaken, 80%, a little bit more than 80. Here it is, 87.5% was actually a gift from the Moody Foundation. They gifted an ownership interest of 87.5%. And then Texas Parks and Wildlife Department purchased the remainder interest of that property for 11.85 million with funds from the Centennial Parks Conservation Fund, from sporting goods sales tax as well, that came into play for that particular acquisition. Now, there's another one, the Post Oak Ridge State Park near Lampasas. Now, Texas Tribune actually was talking about this, and they reported Texas bought that land for new parks that will be developed using the $1 billion voter approved fund as well. So, Kobe, you're throwing around numbers. Let's take it back to the beginning. What are we actually looking at? Why does this matter, and what's important here? So, why does everybody seem to care about 1,000 plus acres? And why not 500? Why not 200, if you will? And why not 5 separate properties that add up to the same amount of acres, right? And I think the number from the conversations that I've had has very little to do, or the reason why it has very little to do with the number itself. It has everything to do with connectivity. When most people look at land, they focus on acres. How many acres? What's my road frontage? How's my timber looking? Do I got water? How many ponds? How many tanks? How many deer? What does my herd look like? Those things kind of matter to those folks. But large landowners and conservation professionals often start with a very different question I found, and that is the property connected? Like, what is the continuity of that particular property? spread out, or is it a parceled out assemblage? Like what is it looking like? Because a connected landscape, if you will, functions very differently than a fragmented landscape. And let's talk about wildlife in that case, right? Like a white-tailed deer doesn't know where your property line is. A turkey doesn't know where your fence ends. Migratory birds, of course, don't know where one branch stops and another one begins. Wildlife move through these different landscapes, right? And the larger and more connected the habitat, the easier it is for wildlife to move. Your management practices change on a track like that. Um, Feed, breeding, and survival ultimately. That's one reason why these large contiguous, that's the word I wanted to use, properties are so valuable. Habitat isn't broken apart. Animals can use the entire landscape. And what you often find in those contiguous properties is water. Now, water again doesn't care where property lines are either. Creeks, rivers, watersheds, floodplains, they all operate at scale over these large landscapes. Actually, I'll take a moment here to take a quick pause. When you look at a state, when I have conversations with folks who are new to the land investing or whatever world, I explain to them the importance of your different basins, your rivers, your major watersheds, your creek basins. These different areas, for example, coming in Dallas, that's a part of the Trinity Basin. Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm at currently, this is the Catawba Basin. How these basins kind of flow, how development takes place in those basins, how mitigation banking, compensatory banking, biodiversity banking as well as one that's gaining a lot of traction in those particular basins, how this kind of ecosystem comes about in a particular area. And those things are important. So the questions that come up is that can this property protect the creek? Can this, you got Department of Environmental Quality, absolutely huge. Can it improve water quality? Does it preserve a floodplain function, if you will? When we talk about Trinity, that's a big one. Can it connect existing protected land as well? Are there other parcels that are owned by other other institutions or other mitigation banking properties or in proximity to this as well, or underneath a conservation easement as well that might be managed by the same group? Those are the kind of questions that get kind of asked, and then of course you always have in some cases the recreational piece that lays on top of that as well. So 1,000-acre property can offer experiences that are far different to replicate on smaller tracts. Guys, I'll pause here, especially when we're talking about Texas. You can have, for example, we're currently underwriting a 356-acre tract in Dallas County, smack in Dallas County. You can go, I think it's about less than a mile and a half, and you've got around the corner from this parcel, you've got subdivision, homes, salvage yard. You've got 8 parks surrounding this particular property, just regular public parks. So in a smaller track, which for folks again, I know understand who may not be in the outdoor space, 350, like what do you mean a small 356 acres? Having 1,000-acre tract and what you'll typically find in today's day and time in 2026, and the remoteness oftentimes of that tract that remains is very different than 356 acres, which this is a amazing opportunity, I will say so. That still remains. This was a former sand and gravel quarry mine with having some strong enough barriers where the property still has a remote feel, if you will. So going back to what I was saying there, 1,000-acre property can offer experiences that are very difficult to replicate on smaller tracts, which gains interest from, again, billion-dollar funds who are interested in buying that property for public access and use. So you can separate, of course, hunting pressure, create trail systems. Me and my wife, we enjoy going to state parks. So with our daughter, we're big fitness people as well. You can establish so many different activities that the state can benefit from fishing, hiking, camping, all the things that you can do in the outdoors. And if you imagine in comparison management efficiency, how you manage that property, imagine owning 5 separate parcels that make up 200 acres that are scattered all across the county, right? All over the county. Now imagine owning 1,000 acre tract, and going back to those 200 acres and spread out across parcels. We're not even talking about different access issues that can come about as well. But when you own 1,000 acre tract, it's much easier to manage. It's much easier to talk about fencing, improvements, and monitoring as well. And most of the time, one large property is just significantly more efficient. So I get it, right? So why should investors care about this? I've had several conversations with a good friend of mine, actually out of Colorado, and he worked with a family office, has represented a family office for some time. You might actually watch this video, and plenty of conversations that we've had from wherever. I mean, all over the United States and some of the most rural areas, even here in the Carolinas. He's always told me, bro, if you got 1,000 acre tract coming up with some water on it, with some legal deeded access, paved road frontage. I've got some folks who are buying. And these are, again, your family offices. We're talking about 250 million. And you have micro family offices, but you're talking about folks who are, very, very successful groups and institutional investors, right? So one of those reasons is the exit opportunities. One of the lessons that I've learned in land investing is that the best properties are often the ones that have multiple exit paths and strategies for it. A large contiguous property may appeal to the conservation groups, conservation buyers, obviously, your parks department, your family offices, your ranch buyers going to run cattle on it, your recreational buyer, your hunting club, your land trust. And I would also say too, even your local government. I'm now starting to engage with conversations in this particular track with local municipalities as well. Like, hey, what are their intentions around their budget, and what are they looking forward to in the forthcoming fiscal year, and how we can best position a disposition to those folks as well. So it's so much more than just that individual relisting on your regular retail or your Zillow.com, if you will. So I think in so many words for this video, I don't want to get too lengthy. Is that location matters, access matters, water matters, demand matters, and when you start getting over 1,000 acres, you have folks who I have found where the in full transparency, where the horizon for funding and capital injection might be a little bit lengthier because of the underwriting process. You have a little bit less back and forth. If you've ever heard this, for all my fund managers and founders out there, that it takes the same amount of time to do the small deal as it does the big deal, is very true. Very true. I've found that with your institutional organizations, those folks that have their own teams on hand, you're able to kind of operate more as a speedboat. There's a phrase called a wildcatter in Texas. You're kind of able to operate being someone that finds the opportunity, get it locked down, get that thing under contract, get an LO on it, whatever the case may be, and position that to these organizations that, hey, they've got large institutional $1 billion in capital that's been raised or been funded, and they have a process for how those monies can be allocated. But you can move a little bit faster without red tape and position that strong exit strategy to those folks for the future. So I hope this video was informative to you guys. I will say right here on video that we are focusing on 1,000+ acre tracts after our initial flagship fund. So this property, like I said, is amazing. Hey, I will say this all day long. Location still matters, right? Location and scale definitely matters. This track was one that just doesn't come by often, that was very important, I think, for us, that had the optionality that we wanted. And I've actually spoken, again, in full transparency, with Texas Parks and Wildlife representatives in regards to this track, and several other organizations as well, who all said the same thing. This property has the bones and the scale to be an amazing recreational use property for, your dollar sites and folks who don't want to go too far, but still have some of that skill and fun in the outdoors with their families, and it fits into the plan. Fits into the plan of what a lot of these local municipalities are looking for. And I believe we're strategically positioned. We're in this world between development and conservation and being able to do well and do good, which is my absolute favorite thing to do, is our mission as we look to acquire, enhance, improve, and exit 10,000 acres over the next 10 years. This fits. However, as we move forward and we are gaining more relationships and growing as an organization as well, and me personally as a founder also, this is more and more becoming a part of the conversation of folks saying, "Hey, Kobe, we want to look at, you got some 1,000 acre tracts. We're moving a little bit slower, but if you guys can get your hands on it, man, there's some things we could definitely evaluate and look at to see how it could be positioned for public access and use, man." So this is just one of the few extra strategies that we have with properties. If you're into this kind of deal, if you love these type of videos, sometimes I do some that are more focused on industry news, what's happening with land, outdoors legislation. Sometimes I do videos that are very more finance driven. Subscribe, leave a comment below in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. You can book a call. Our current offering is underneath Reg D 506C, accredited investors only. You can schedule a call at boonecapital.co. That is boonecapital.co. Would love to have a conversation with you. And until next time, God bless, guys. Take care.